Good morning, everybody. It is Jillian with Jilly Juice. And so, yeah, you saw a lot of growth the last couple weeks. Me focusing on the religious conversion world, noticing how many people in the religious world were attracted to this information way in the beginning of the Jilly Juice rollout. Thank God, thank the one God that is protecting me, or the many gods that is protecting me, gave me the impetus, and myself, the impetus to roll this out way before 2020. But what I figured out with picking apart politics, religion, and science is that politics, religion, and science about selling a perception, but the outcome is the intention. Okay, the perception that they're selling is that life is death and death is life, and to then enjoy the cured state that you're in and leave this world in a dignified manner. That's exactly what politics, religion, and science are selling. Okay, if you don't understand both sides of the story, you're only going to understand one side, which is you're in a cured state, you take part in biotech, and then you leave in it with dignity. Okay? So now you're getting the choice to understand both sides. And so it's like there's two things I have to cover here. One is that you have to face it that not everyone is going to take on your information. Even if you're an example, not everyone is going to take to it. By the time they realize that you're correct, it may be too late for some people because they'd be so far gone that it would take a lot for them to really get back what they lost for the last 40 years of their life. I mean, their whole lifestyle, belief system, everything would have to change. They would be in an extraordinary amount of pain. And so now that people know that there's two sides to the story, okay, there is the Jilly Juice side of the selling of what people perceive as death, but it's actually life. And the other side of the story is people are actually selling what they perceive as life, but it's actually death. And those that just don't have the capacity to get it up here, not that there's anything wrong with that, but they just don't have the capacity to process that, you have to let them just go. We're not converting anyone. Believe me, I've been part of the convert. That's why I attracted the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's why Christina Morris was so attracted to me on my post every single day, commenting. I was on her post too because I'm trying to convert her. She's trying to convert me. Then I realized what I was attracting. I was attracting people that wanted to convert and legislate morals. Instead of giving people the choice, we're trying to force life or force death down people's throats. I mean, you see that in the vaccine world. Oh, you need this vaccine to mitigate against, protect against COVID because you couldn't possibly handle the amount of energy it takes to evolve. And yeah, they're right on some level, but why not give a person a choice? Well, I mean, so a therapist in the holistic energy healing world who kind of understands where I'm coming from, but still kind of stuck, but then they are given other information. They could say, you realize that everything that I'm doing, mitigating pain, all the different therapies out there, they're actually contributing to the acceleration of your destruction. And I'll tell you why, because it's antibiotic, pain and energy is necessary when your body's at a deficit. You're going to have to eat all food in the food supply that is coded to the current viral programming. How do you say this if even a holistic therapist who doesn't understand viruses, they won't be able to articulate that? That's what I'm saying. I could count on my one hand, on my one finger, possibly somebody that's in the reflexology world who is close to someone who understands this could potentially give their client a choice without taking advantage of their client. And that person will figure out in their world how they're going to do that. But I will tell you, 99.999% of people out there in the holistic energy allopathic world are not giving their clients a choice. They're giving them a perceived choice. Oh, you got the vaccine or not get the vaccine. Doesn't matter. The virus is still going to kick their ass regardless. And if they don't get, if they get the vaccine, they won't be able to evolve, and they're not eating all the food in the food supply. So when you're not evolving and you're not eating all the food in the food supply, and even if you are, you have glitchy viral programming, and even the activation of your immune system, both sides of it or one side of it is going to take up resources that the person doesn't have. So it's still going to accelerate their destruction. And so you don't really give anyone a choice in the medical holistic system. There is no choice there. But now there is. But see, the thing is now that you have a choice, and now you're like, okay, everybody here see this, and those are like, oh, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see it, I really want to do this and this and that. And I have denigrated, yeah, I've been pissed off at people's choices of chemotherapy, of cannabis, of, just not understanding the power of salt, the distraction habits that are out there. Yeah, people have painted themselves in a corner, and they can't possibly change the way they live, or change the way they look at food, or change the way they look at life, because they are surrounded by people who are destructive to themselves. And if they tried to do anything different, the people around them that they have been depending upon for the last however many years would disown them or browbeat them into submission. And you as a jelly juicer, you have so much freedom. You don't realize how much freedom you have. Okay, every single thing that you do every day is a choice to save yourself, and is a choice to destroy yourself. And so the system isn't destroying people, even though, yeah, you think that the vectors are horrible because people's bodies are at a deficit no matter what. So the activation sequence of mRNA or being around a group of people are going to trigger potential predispositions that maybe are on the inserts or what you already hold within. Okay? And so when you demonize things that you already hold within, then you're not taking responsibility that you could feed all your predispositions. You could release the glitchy viral programming that's conflicting. You could recode your body with all the food in the food supply and understand food is coding, and even though it's bioengineered, it's matching the viral variants out there. Okay? But that's the thing, it's all individual. And so no one's destroying anyone. That's the thing with those that are in the activist world. They think someone is destroying them. But little do they know, the powers that be know that the people who are activists are actually been destroying themselves and have been destroying themselves. But a new twist came in. People didn't have a choice prior to the JJ mentality. There was this book called The Salt Fix, okay? That, I didn't read it, but someone sent it to me a couple years ago when I was first rolling this out. And so people have introduced the power of salt, okay? But to get to the cured state, when it's deeper issues, not just superficial wounds, because yeah, I've used salt superficially, and I could, heal my body or any cut superficially very quickly. But when it's something very deep, something deep and has layers and layers of deficits that you have to go through, people are not going to want to go through the evolution of what salt will bring up and then what the person has to go and deal with. And it's not going to be, you can't tell how long a person's going to deal with those predispositions. And so the salt fix was great for superficial stuff, but for major deficits, the food supply was the missing component. And if someone was using the salt fix and they were on their diets and they were eating all organic and they were demonizing meat or milk or cheese or eggs or anything like that, the salt fix would just turn them into a crypt keeper. So it wouldn't be worth it to someone who isn't eating all the food, who doesn't want to deal with pain, to do a salt fix on a deeper level. So, but now we understand the power of salt. Okay, now with the JJ mentality, we know we could silence the mRNA that's in the vectors if you have to get a vaccine. We know we can bring up evolution in a body that has predispositions because they have quelled the viral programming from past exposures. And now you have to deal with the past. Okay, now you have to kind of revisit the past. That's what I'm saying. Jillyjuice is about past, present, and future issues. What are future issues? Whatever new virus is out there that will be released because of climate change, because of splicing and dicing, because of 7 billion people or less than that mutating new viruses that are in the environment. And so you're going to, but the thing is that eventually all the future viruses are not going to be as aggressive as they were when you were still behind the 8 ball, now trying to level up. You see, the freedom is not that I mean, now I actually feel free, because before, when I was dealing with the symptoms of being out in public and not wearing a mask, and I'm laid out the next couple of days like, oh my God. And again, I haven't had my period, just so you know, but the last couple weeks I've been able to go outside in a crowded place without wearing a mask and not feeling the evolution right afterwards. But I'll tell you what, I didn't know how long that was going to be. I didn't know if, and I assume that I'll be dealing with that every single time I go out there and deal with mutating viruses, that I'm going to be laid out for the next day or so. So that's why I was focusing on wearing a mask, double mask. My husband was just like rolling his eyes at me or focusing more on staying home. But then this last couple of weeks with these hot flashes, with the sweating like profusely, that was a major turning point in my acclimation to the current mainframe. That was a major turning point. And so I'm giving people the option, but it's a long road. You realize how long the road that I've been on the last 4 years, the last 5 years? And it's not just physical traumas and physical pain. It's emotional pain. It's financial pain. It is intellectual pain. And a person has to have a situation that will support this. And they can't think that they're going to deal with all their stuff in like a year. I mean, you still have obligations. You still have to go to work. You still have kids to raise. You still have a husband or a wife that may not even be doing this or even understand this. You still have all of your social obligations. I mean, the whole JJ protocol is completely turning around everything that you thought was normal and great and wonderful. And it was, but people were also expecting to die. They just thought they had all this time. Oh yeah, I'm 30 years old and I have many years ahead of me, and my doctor said I'm so healthy relative to the general population. And that may be true, but it only takes a major viral variant that gets uploaded, triggering your immune system to create antagonist antibodies, okay? Not take on new evolution. And you have predispositions that, yeah, you know it's in your family, but you were told by your doctor that, yeah, you're in great fettle, you're in great health. And it just takes a major electrical surge to take out so many resources. And then something gets knocked offline in your immune system, in all of your 12 different systems or 11 different systems. And then something gets diagnosed and it was out of the blue. You weren't expecting it, because viruses on bodies that are not very healthy or immunocompromised, it triggers diagnosable conditions. It triggers heart attacks, it triggers strokes, it triggers autoimmune disorders. And so they say that's why the vaccines are there, to mitigate against potential extensive energy, but you still have to stay home. You still have to wear a mask. You can't be out there, even if you're vaccinated, you can't be out there with a bunch of people that you don't even know. I mean, even if you knew their situation, if they were vaccinated or not vaccinated, they're still mutating viruses that the body's rejecting and being expelled out into the open, and you're breathing it in. So even a vaccinated person has to watch themselves, because they could trigger any kind of diagnosable condition, because the body still has to utilize resources taken away from its reserves. And when you're low on reserves, what does that mean? The body cannibalizes itself, and then major systems or minor systems get knocked offline. And that's what breakthrough infection is. And do people know if they are susceptible to breakthrough infection? Well, I mean, there's indicators. I mean, elderly, fighting cancer, fighting disease, but even that is not always 100%. There's people that just die right off the bat because they're young and they were athletic and they're fully vaccinated, and they thought they could go out there and hang out with all their friends and family, and realize that the person passed away a couple days ago. Well, I thought they were fully vaccinated. They're safe. No one's 100% safe if you don't understand the third component. What's the third component? What's the first two anyways? Well, the third component is food. The first is viruses and then the food supply. But well, viruses, the food supply, and then symptoms. If you're all about, viruses, oh, I got to protect against the virus, and you hate symptoms, then even the food supply won't help you. But the food supply is what will help you code, and that includes the salt. That includes sugar and carbs and meat and milk and cheese and eggs. But how many people out there on low sodium diets, basically gelatinous? There's no activity, or there's activity, but very sluggish activity. And so, yeah, when you get exposed to a virus or whatever, and your blood, or you have hormonal imbalances and you're taking too much vitamin D, then you have hypercalcemia, not enough vitamin D, you have hypertension and other issues. It's like, if you don't understand the power of viruses and feeling the symptoms and understand the food supply, how are you going to reconcile with this environment and any future environments? And so this is why I'm saying to all of you, JJ, give people the choice. If you have, people know that you're on the JJ, and they could, I'm not saying you have to go and proselytize JJs, but I'll say this: if you are a marketer, if you're all about hating the vaccines, and you're all about hating the anti-vaxxers, and you're all about trying to save people from GMO and all that shit, you're not giving anyone a choice. So if you're all about trying to save somebody, whether it's through politics, religion, and science, then you're missing a vital component. And yeah, the JJ mentality is a vital component. And are people going to be articulate enough to be given the choice? Well, that's the thing. Only a few people can give the actual choice and potentially articulate it. Most people will get stuck in the curative side of the JJs, but they'll never understand the evolutionary side. And then that's when the love, and the hate, and the oxytocin, adrenaline, the taking aside, the politics, religion, and science are easily accessed through someone who's in a cured state. And I've seen it. I've watched it, and I know it happens, and it has happened. And so that's the unintended awesome consequence about JJuice, is that you have a third option. What's the first two? Jesus Christ. You mean you have the holistic allopathic, and then you have the salt, because both the holistic and the allopathic are all about low sodium diets. They're all about the pink salt, all the different cell salts that are promoted in all the different, spiritual stuff and whatever. But the third option is understand the power of salt and evolving, not being in a cured state. But the third option is, salt as a cure. But it should not stop there. If you're using salt as a cure, then you're no different than someone that goes to the holistic and the allopathic to stop the pain. Because once you get to that point where you're in a cured state with the JJuice, you've gone too far. Now you have to get off. You can enjoy that cured state for a certain amount of time, but eventually your body needs to evolve. That's what the uracil in the acids, the DNA acids, okay, DNA and RNA. The uracil is allowing the body to take in new information and adjust it, and then act as if it was a DNA, not an RNA. And so everyone must, if they want to evolve, have to activate that uracil and allow that programming to come in and adjust according to the environment. And so what is that? How does that look for me now that I've reversed all my issues? Heat flush, tingly feeling. Maybe I cough a little bit, maybe I sneeze a little bit, and that's about it. I don't even get headaches. It's like, it's the weirdest thing to be in this state where I'm not cured, but I feel the energy. That's the most amazing. Like, I feel like I'm completely online. Those are in a cured state are offline. They're not plugged into the matrix. Okay? And with the JJ mentality, the new viruses kind of bring you back to the matrix, and then you adjust to it. Then you're in this equilibrium, which I'm enjoying. And then when a new virus comes in, then I get a jolt of electricity. I feel the heat. It's like those COVID-19 detectors are selling on Amazon. That's what your body is now you're like an antenna. You could feel the energy. And you know the COVID-19 is a major energetic source. And so, yeah, my husband felt it yesterday. We both two places. We were at, one Home Depot, Lowe's type of place, and we ate food off of a food truck. We both felt the heat flush. And then we went into Walmart in a crowded place. And he felt like he felt a year ago when he was first introduced to COVID, but didn't want to acknowledge that it was COVID. He's like, oh, it's my predispositions. Heart issues are in my family. I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? But yeah, we both felt the energy of the virus. And I welcomed it. He's just like, oh my God. I'm like, honey, are you okay? I kept asking him every second, are you okay? Are you okay? And he said he was fine. Okay, so he's one of those that will be more immune than not. Yes, anyone that is a third his size or half his size with major predispositions, either they have to get a vaccine and pray and hope that that vaccine will protect them from evolution, or they have to stay home, or they have to deal with whatever, and they might get diagnosed with a condition because that energy is very rapid. And so that's what I'm saying. And if you're going to put out any kind of solution for people, make it universal, medical, holistic system. But since people don't want to feel pain and you can't legislate morals, you got to give everybody different choices relative to their beliefs. And so if you're selling a perceived life, you're actually selling death, because it's all about the antibiotics and stopping evolution. Reprogramming the body to not take on evolution. You're selling death. Just admit it. And you're making money off it. Just admit it. But you can't admit it because you think life is death and death is life. People perceive that I'm selling death. Oh, salt's gonna kill you. And then they watch the Dr. Phil show and be like, oh, she killed that hospice patient. That hospice patient individually destroyed himself over years and years and years of a lifestyle. Okay? That hospice patient was trying to do a Hail Mary. And food was painful, so he probably wasn't eating enough food. And so all he was doing was drinking pineapple juice and doing J juice, but he wasn't feeding himself. Maybe he could have cured himself, but he still needed the food supply. I don't know how much he was eating. Even though we were on a specific diet, it wasn't like he was going to be eating steaks. And so even the diet that I had was the potatoes. It was the fruits and vegetables. It was chicken. It was eggs. And so he had a lot of options. And so he needed to transition on food anyways. But we were still in the holistic world and he was in hospice. But everyone has individually chosen what it is that they want to go out, that they want to do. Oh gosh, as far as dealing with their issues. And I just lost my train of thought. And so anyways, sometimes it happens because I'm just thinking, I'm like, mind just goes going like this. But yeah, if you're selling, that's right. People have put themselves in position. So whatever happens, the outcome is the intention. Okay. So if you're on the JJ mentality and you are doing so much of it, you haven't gotten off it, you're probably not eating a lot. If you are eating a lot, you're not coding, you're just doing the waterfalls. So the body isn't taking on the nutrition and having it stick. And then you pass away from a heart attack. Whoa, weren't they on the J juice? They were on it so much that they didn't have enough substance to their body because the salt was burning through those nutrients and the body wasn't retaining those resources. And so the person was not only very, very skinny. That's a telltale sign someone's doing too much J juice, or they have hormonal imbalances, is that there's nothing to them. When someone gains some weight on the J juice mentality, it means they've stopped doing J juice and they're allowing the food supply, the meat, the milk, the fatty acids, omega-3s, fatty acid, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals to code the body and add some freaking substance to them. We're not trying to be fashion models, being emaciated, looking like someone that you want to have sex with, which is the whole fashion industry is about titillating men and making women want to be emaciated and docile, and then look for would-be suitors so they can then be that nymph and that siren to go and hypnotize emotionally weak men. No, that's not the JJ mentality. We're all about trying to survive and change the way women look at their bodies. Because too skinny, you won't be able to handle the viral shockwaves. Obese with weak vital organs, you won't survive the viral shockwaves. You must be somewhere in the middle, not too obese and not too skinny, but you must have strong vital organs. If you don't, forget it. I don't care if you're skinny or fat. If you don't have the strong vital organs, you won't survive this environment. I don't care what you do, vectored or not. And so right now, people in my JJ crowd, hopefully, most of them, or some of them, are sticking with getting off the jillyjuice if they've been on it for a minute, and eating the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, and strengthening their vital organs, because they're going to need to. The body will adjust the weight according to the geographical location, according to how much food you give yourself. Okay? And so that's what I am hoping for those on the JJ crowd, is that they don't die from their own hand. And that means that, those that got off the jillyjuice and don't want to feel pain, and they're turning back to their religious crowd, like apple cider vinegar and prebiotics, they're destroying themselves at their own hand. So the system, nobody is destroying anyone. So anyone's an activist out there, they're going out and punching air and saying, oh my God, Dan Andrews or Biden or all these people are destroying us. No, I'm sorry. You are destroying yourself, and you're bringing up a hormone of either love or hate, and major manipulation and greed. Because the thing also is that there are people that I've seen that are that welcome death, that celebrate Halloween. Okay, fine. They're all into the Samhain. They're all into, oh yes, as we look back on our life and all the trials and tribulations, and Samhain is about the balance of death and then the rebirth and all that stuff. Well, I know that they have chosen to only live this life and not go on to the trajectory of life, that they're honoring the death process. And I remember I'm like, ooh, Halloween is honoring the death process. And then a Jehovah's Witness is like, oh yeah. And I'm like, holy crap, am I taking on the characteristics of a Jehovah's Witness? And I was tripping out on that. Oh my God, I'm having the same mentality. Are they the right religion to belong to? And then I'm like, oh wait, hold on a second. It is balancing out the light and the darkness within you. It is honoring both the light and the darkness out there, night and day, right? But it's also giving people a choice. That's the Freemason mentality, is that you give people a choice. This is not like they're doing here in America, World War II. Even though you think the vaccines are like a World War II, they're not. It's still a programming that you either can take to, or if you're strategic enough, you can silence those programming. All you gotta do, it's decreasing protein solubility in that programming. And that means that you have a high sodium diet, and you have a very strong immune system, very strong primary immune system on both sides, the agonist side, regeneration, and the antagonist side, search and destroy. And then you will develop primary antibodies to go after any type of rogue programming like an mRNA, if you have to get vaccinated. Okay? So you don't, there's no one's trying to destroy you, but you have to be given the choice. You are given the choice. Okay? But they're not going to tell you that in the inserts. Well, to silence this program. That's not the point of Pfizer. That's not the point of Merck. That's not the point of Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or Inovio. They want to have programming relative to your intention. Okay? And so now you are given a choice. Salt is the ultimate regulator. It silences fast replicating cells. It activates sluggish cells. And it's all relative to your body's makeup. If you are all full of cancer, you wouldn't be alive. And so if you only have 0.1% or 2% body of cancer, then the salt will go and quell that and then activate everything else and then kick out stuff. Okay? And so you're always given a choice. So those that choose to only worship, only choose death and reproduction, because that's what the holidays are. It's paganism. The holidays in America, the Christian paganism, is about celebrating life and celebrating death, or death and reproduction. The spring, the summer, all the solstice is all pagan. It's not a bad thing, but it's like a polytheistical religion, just like any, like a Unitarian church, or people that the Druids are worshiping nature. Okay? And so you, as a person that understands both sides, you could acknowledge the Halloween. Not that I don't really want to go out there and wear a costume and go and party, no. But you could acknowledge Halloween, and you could acknowledge Easter, Ishtar. You could acknowledge all the different holidays in between, Christmas, because man, if you feel Jesus is your father, fine. I mean, far be it from me to try to talk you out of your religion. But you, as a jillyjuice person, can acknowledge all of that and acknowledge the light and darkness within you, because I'm not always love and light, and I don't want to be love and light. That's not my intention. And I'm not sticky sweet trying to manipulate you. And I'm not always a bitch. But I am when someone is trying to be love and light and overwhelm me with their cancerous honey. And when someone is so brutal to me, they're meaning to repel me. So I give them what they want. I repel them. Hey, that's fine. That was the intention. They were showing their cards and they wanted me to have a reaction. Okay? And so I can acknowledge both the light and the darkness out there and still give people the choice. You have the light with the salt, and you need the food supply to insulate. You have the darkness where you have to release old programming. You have to go to sleep at night. You can't be up all day long and all night long and be part of the light 24/7. But those that want to die want to be joining the light, but they're light right now. So then there's too much light. So then it's cancer. So it overwhelms them and they pass away. I'm watching those on my Facebook. They're like, oh yeah, please pray for this person. They're on their way out the door. Oh, that's right. A lady on my Facebook, I used to know her from when I was a kid. And I knew her in elementary school, and now she's, a mother, and a mother of like 4 or 5, and she's part of the Lutheran church. And I did go to her church way back when I was a kid. And I did learn about, Christianity and the resurrection when I went to her on a sleepover. And so I'm watching her now, like just years later. And I mean, we don't talk on Facebook, but I just kind of go and look. And so she was in a car accident, and she still believes very much in Jesus and stuff. And so she's saying, yeah, Jesus is all about the light. He's all about the light. I can't wait when the things I look back on after I had that car accident was the fact that everyone was there for me, but I was in so much pain. But the real big thing is that Jesus was my light, and I can't wait that when everything is said and done, I will be going towards the light. And so even death is like the light to people. Okay? Jesus or death, or Jesus and light, is the light of someone's darkness of dying. And there's no way I could argue against that. I can't tell someone to just quit their religion, because that's what light is to them, is to pass away. And I think that's what Jesus was there for, is to justify death. That no, your light won't go out. It'll just be carried on through this individual who is, and then people don't know where they're going to go on the other side. They just have an idea based upon the church, okay, and their congregation, and then all the allegories. And so I just say, you know what? That's fine. You give people the choice that you could stay here on earth, because hell on earth means that you're going through evolution. A cold day in hell, satanic, is actually death. But you can't tell a Christian who thinks that Jesus is light that when you're dead, that's a cold day in hell, because you're not alive anymore. But then, then you see all the when someone dies, you see a spirit or see a light. People say, oh, they seen the light or whatever. And so that's the draw, and that's what keeps people okay with death, because of what was told to them about what the other side is. It's still light. You're not dead, really. Your spirit's still alive. Your body is gone, but your spirit's... And the whole JJ mentality is to align the body, mind, and spirit, not just have the spirit leave and your body is nothing, because then the ghost shows are all about snapshots of viral energy of a person's life that once was, okay? And some people have a lot of energy that is still residual in this world, and electricity brings that up. And so some houses have a lot more electricity, maybe from the transformers, or so much energy like death happened in one area, like, World War II in Germany, or on battlefields like the Civil War. And so if you have different devices, you can detect entities, you can detect energy during certain anniversaries or stuff. And so I don't want anyone that I know that understands the JJ mentality end up like that. And they won't. Because we will deal with the energy here on earth, not turn into some bubble of a ghost. Because that's what, when I watch the Ghost Hunter, Zach Bagans, always, his little cameras that detect energy, it's always these little bubbles that are like flying around. And even when I did my Facebook Lives on my computer, I could detect little energies flying around. But they didn't mess with me. But I noticed them a couple years ago. Some of you have too. Okay, so it's just, I don't want you to turn into that. You're more than just a little bubble of energy. You're more than just your spirit. You're a body too, and you're a mind. And so we are entering into the actual immortality age, if you understand what it takes. And the jillyjuice is giving you the full story. So you still have the choice. You can go follow all the politics, religion, and science perception of life and death, or you can understand the physics of life and death. And that's the choice that I'm giving people. And I'm not going to ram life or death down anyone's throat. Okay? I'm not trying to proselytize. I'm not trying to convert nobody. I don't want to convert anybody because that takes more energy out of me. So I just say, well, whatever. Make your choices. And so when everyone around me is aging rapidly, and I'm still looking like I'm freaking 12 years old, I'm almost 48. I know it seems young, but I mean, I should ask somebody, in a couple of years, how old do I look? And it's not even about looking youthful. I mean, it is and it isn't. Because with Asians, it's kind of hard to tell because, it's just the genetics are a little bit different. But eventually, the moment of truth, when I get around people that I haven't seen in a while, and I could see time has not been kind to them, and I look at myself and I'm still feeling great. Yeah, I feel new viral variants. I feel the heat. I feed it with food. I don't, then they will figure it out. Maybe it won't be too late for them. Maybe they won't figure it out. They're okay with where they're going. But at least I've given everyone a choice. And it's being an example and not trying to convert anyone. And there is no religion with the JJ world. There is no religion. It's accepting both sides, but you still stay on the side of life. Okay? Because that's the law. The law is about keeping people alive and not destroying people. Unless it's their choice. And that's what all the inserts and all the back of the bottle says, okay, if you partake in this what could happen based upon your life choices and your belief systems and what we've taught you based upon their knowledge at the time. But now there's new knowledge and they're not stopped. They're not shutting me up. I'm not cut off of Facebook. Dr. Phil he didn't say that salt was poison. He just said, be careful, be aware. You may not be prepared for the energy it takes to evolve. Okay? But the system isn't shutting me up. The system is saying, okay, here you go. She's still alive. A lot of my J juicers are still alive. Those that have died, they died from a lot of different things out there. And if you want to blame food, water, salt, sugar, that's the Tower of Babel, is when you make correlation equals causation. Now you got to look at the person's lifestyle and belief systems and what they fed their body and what they've withheld from their body over years and years. What kind of drugs do they do? If they were an alcoholic their whole life, and now they're trying to change, but they're just trading one antibiotic protocol therapy for another until the body says no more. It's like saying, okay, I did all this chemotherapy and okay, I'm still alive, great. Now I'm doing all this cannabis. What did the person die from? The chemotherapy or the cannabis? Who are you going to blame, right? That's the thing. Who are you going to blame? Or you blame the food. Oh, they were eating GMO. Oh, they were eating all the McDonald's. Oh, they were in this location. They were next to a power plant. That's the speculation of, I'm telling you, humans can adapt to any condition. So as long as biodiversity is able to flourish. Okay, so if there's trees growing and grass growing next to a power plant, you know that that biodiversity has adapted. A human can adapt to that too. Up their intake of salt, have a higher sodium diet, and then be online with the environment, and the body can take on all the different pollutants. They're not really pollutants to you, but they're pollutants to somebody else who has to now upgrade to the level of that environment. So someone who's used to 400 parts per million of a pollutant in one town then goes to a town that has 500 parts per million, they're going to have to upgrade to the level of that environment. That's basically what pollutant is a person not understanding they have to evolve to the level of the environment. So they call it toxic, they call it pollutant, they call it, poison, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And so you must adapt to the level of parts per million of viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria to the level of the environment. And that's it. And it's going to be painful for some because some are at a weight deficit and some environments are more aggressive than others, just like California to Ohio. California, I was in Northern California, Sacramento, Bay Area, and coming to Ohio, and I wasn't living in Tahoe. My sister was living in Tahoe, so she can handle extreme weather because she lived in extreme weather. I've never lived in extreme weather. So coming from California to Ohio, I had to level up to the level of the environment, and it was painful. And I was coughing so hard, I pulled muscles in my chest where I had to go into a fetal position to cough because it was so painful. That's what it's like to level up to the environment. Some can handle it, some cannot. I think you all can handle it that are on the JJ mentality. Okay,